And I am the co host, Lory Audate. We bring marketing strategies, business knowledge, and fun to the
Yes.
podcast. How are you doing, Andy?
Phenomenal. I'm back. I'm glad to be back in the office. I spent the last couple of weeks really focusing on emotional intelligence and a leadership program. So I'm super excited to be back in the office working.
Yes, you were actually away for, was it like 5 days, I believe, or so in that training that you were volunteering in?
Yeah, the last round was 5 days, and the one before that was another 5 days.
Amazing. Well, that's a good amount of time. You got to, like you said, spend time with people, emotional intelligence, all of that great stuff that also applies to business. So that's amazing. Well, today's podcast, I do want to go over some of the lessons in your journey in your transition into a software as a service business.
Right.
Um, Especially because we have a lot of people that have been following you for a long time, right? They've seen your story from the cell phone store, they've seen your story from when you were speaking on stage and you had the conferences. And I've even seen some comments. It's like, whoa, Andy, like your business has changed a lot. Like it looks so different. You're traveling, you're in London, you're in
Right.
Dallas, you're in the Philippines. Like, what happened? um, but specifically with the software as a service business, tell me a little bit about how that came about for anyone that this might be their first, podcast they're listening to.
So the way that the software as a service came about was that I was running a business that was all about one-time payments. So I realized I was always in the hunt. And really it came because I wanted to be a better leader in our home. I wanted to be a better husband and a present father when I have kids and a present dog dad and a present son. And I noticed like what was the issue? Like there when a man or a leader, it could be the leader of the home, whatever, when that person says like I don't have time, not having time is a symptom of a bigger issue. That's what not having time is. It's a symptom of a bigger issue.
Right.
And I would always tell you like I don't have time. I'm not available. And the reason it came down to was because you wanted to spend time with me as a wife, and I wanted to be there for you, but I was always on the hunt for the new customer. And I remember a scenario where I was out, like it was this. We were running a marketing agency, and I remember being at the gas station, and you had texted me, and it was late at night too. It was one of those times it was late at night, and I said I got to go meet with a client. I got to go meet with a client for our marketing agency, and it's like it was a on the bigger size deal. It was a 5-figure investment, a multi 5-figure investment, and I was like at the gas station pumping my car, and then you were like, I just want to spend time with you, and I'm like, man, I got to go ahead and work on these deals and these clients. And there were countless scenarios. I remember on our wedding day, there was someone who texted me, and it was unpleasant like text messages where I'm like, I'm about to get married, and the text messages are like, hey, I want to do business with you. And my heart was like, I gotta say yes, I gotta work on this deal. Right. That was my heart, because my actions were always like, whenever a sale opportunity comes, take advantage of it, get in front of the person. And I needed a better business model. So the symptom was I don't have time in that scenario. Like I don't have time. I remember, the amount of times that I pushed our honeymoon back because I was operating off of the wrong business model. The wrong business model was one-time payments. The right business model was having recurring subscription. So today we run a business that is all about subscription revenue. Like almost every product that we have has some type of subscription assigned to it, or it leads to a subscription. And the reason for that is because it creates that level of cash flow and recurring revenue and value. So that way, like when I took the whole week off of work last week, I was like, oh, I'm not tripping, man. We have cash flow coming in as a business owner, right? At the week before, I took another week off, right? We have cash flow coming in. Then, I was in right before that, I was in where was I? I was in Asia, in the Philippines. Took a
Mm-hmm.
week off of there, right? So why? Because we have cash flow. So really, like in the last 4 weeks, I only worked like 5 days, like real work. I only worked like a real
Right.
5 days in the last month, and it's because of the cash flow. It's because of the recurring revenue. So, and I remember that. Remember that night a couple of days ago where I showed you the Stripe account, and we were laying in bed. I was like, I didn't even work today. All of that
Mm-hmm.
comes because of recurring revenue. It was a nice little bonus financially, to the point where we're able to work in a strategic manner and still have
Mhm.
revenue coming in automatically. I think that's where the real time freedom is. So I ran the wrong business model before, and I transitioned to the right business model, which was monthly recurring revenue.
Right. And I do remember a lot of our early relationship was, especially because like my love language is quality time, which doesn't mean we're in the same room next to each other. It's like quality intentional time. Like put your phone down and let's just be me and you in this moment. And it was very difficult, I think, when we had the marketing agency, we were doing custom build outs on websites and like courses and a lot of projects, they required a lot of attention. And we pushed through. I think the word was like we accomplished it and we were successful, but it was stressful. And it was like, I mean, it would have been unheard of. Like just in September, I was away for my with my sister for her birthday, and I said I'm just going to be there for 4 days. Like her birthday was one dinner, the actual family gathering, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'll be there for 4 days, and that is what the software as a business model has been able to achieve. I think for both of us. Um, but with that being said, though, was it difficult for you in the beginning to kind of shift the business model, because you have had the brick and mortar businesses, you've done the you're the one speaking on stage, you're the one talking to the clients, to now it's like you have all this time freedom. What do you do with all this time that you have now?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds all good and glamorous, but it was a huge mental shift and a huge mental battle, actually. I think the biggest challenge was my mind. I was in tremendous amount of fear when transitioning, because it's like I was saying no to, like, for example, like, if you were to, if somebody, at the end of the day, I was saying no to to offers for me to do services that were just not in alignment with my current business model. My current business model is like low ticket subscription models. I'm sure that we can add more over time, and I will add more services and more products over time. But as of today, I enjoy where we're at, where it's like low ticket, recurring, and right now our efforts is going to acquire subscribers and retain subscribers. And I would say no. Like someone said to me, "Hey Andy, will you build out my website for $25,000?" And I'll be like, "No." Why? Because I operate off of a different business model. So years ago, I would say yes, and then I would spend the next like 6 weeks working with someone to build out their website and so forth. But today, it's a different business model, which gives me a much more time freedom, and I'm not involved in any projects. And the reason I'm not involved in any projects, because I built the business around it. So I would say that's the biggest difference. Is like one time was all about like hunting for customers, then fulfilling on customers when we ran a marketing agency. And then the reoccurring was just like, okay, we acquire a subscriber and then it's automated. So like I'll share with you, for example, like I just left dinner with a friend right now, or lunch with, it's still in the afternoon. I left lunch with a friend and we were just in the office talking, and I was telling him like, hey, like our system to sell, onboard, and retain customers is all automated today with our business, our software business. It's completely all automated. And the question is like, okay, how do you make that happen, right? Because usually it's like a custom thing, and I'm like, that's how we make it happen. We don't do anything custom. It's all the same process
Yeah.
for each person to utilize our technology.
Yes, I think that was key. Like you said, the mindset shift of things can be, um, they don't have to be custom to be valuable. Like it's actually better for the customer, for the team, for everyone involved, if at least there's a similar path for the customer's journey and for the team's journey. So I do think that was a mental shift, creating a lot of those SOPs and
Yeah.
committing to specific processes. Now, could things be slightly added or removed? Yes, but it's completely different to build everything custom from scratch versus add or remove a couple of things.
Yeah, from a scalable business standpoint, yes, you're 100% right. It's actually quite challenging to try to scale a business if it's custom, right? That this is why, like, when you see the boutique, let's say the boutique furniture makers, and you walk in and it's like, okay, you have one in Beverly Hills, you have one location. Why? Because as soon as someone
Right.
walks in, you're like, okay, which couch design do you want? Let's talk about the couch design. Let's talk about the materials. Let's talk about the length of time that you need, things of that nature. Now it'll be more expensive, but then that's when you're like, when you walk into that, couch business or furniture business, you're probably speaking to the owner or someone who's like one level below the owner, right?
Right.
And then, but when you think about Ashley Furniture, and you're like, when you walk in, you're like, which stock keeping unit you want, like which SKU number you want.
Right.
Choose your match from a catalog, and we'll have it shipped to you because we have, locations all around the world, and we have a catalog for you to choose from with our inventory. So it's just a different business model, but the one is not custom, right? The one that's not custom is Ashley. So if you walk into Ashley and say, hey, you walk into a sales rep and you're like, hey, I want a custom couch, and they're like, this is not the place for you. We have
Right.
inventory for you to choose from based off our catalog. My job is to help
Choose
you
one.
choose one. Yeah,
Yeah. And they click a button literally.
you click
It's
a
like you
button.
got four options, maybe at most. Like, do you want the gray or the brown? And that's it. That's the custom choice there.
Yeah, because it's a system. It's completely a system. When you have a system, you have something that's scalable, and you have something that, as a business owner, you can essentially add more value to your customer because everyone around you in the infrastructure knows what you purchased, the value of it, and can support you. When you do something custom, you're tied to that person. It actually doesn't serve the customer to be custom, because when that customer goes to someone and gets a custom something custom, for example, yes, it's cool. It feels great. Like, hey, I'm getting this custom thing, but then you're tied to that person. And that person's not available 24/7. That person can't support you 24/7. That person's not always there. And now it's only you two that knows the details of the project, right? Especially in the marketing world.
Yes. Yes,
It's only
especially in the
you two.
marketing, and it's kind of like an interior designer, like who selected what and where does it go? Like only really two people know, the owner and the designer.
Yeah, and it's limiting the owner from growing their business. So they it's limiting the owner. So as a business owner, you end up resenting your customers because you're like, man, I can't get away. I can't spend time to get away. And then for you as a customer, you're like, I only got to talk to John. I'm only looking to talk to John. I only got to talk to John. I'm trying to talk to John because John is the only one that knows my issue. So it limits both of your successes by doing it this way. What you really want to do is you want to find someone who has a system. If you're the customer, you want to go find someone who has a system. And if you're the business owner, you want to create a system. Why? Because, like, for example, I'll give you a scenario in our business. If today, let's say, for example, I were to sit down on a Zoom call with someone and I were to tell them about their custom build out, right? I were to tell them about their custom build out. And it was only Andy that knew about this custom build out. The challenge that would be had is that I only know the custom build out. So the value for our customer is, like, when they come to us and we have a system, is everyone in the company knows the customer brought, and we're all able to support the customer and what they purchase. So you can have dozens of people on my staff support you versus you doing it by yourself, or you and the owner by yourself.
Yes, yes. Um, since you have had the growth and the journey, I would say you committed, at least from what I saw, like you committed in the beginning. You said, this is my standard, no custom. And it seems like you went through a test period, because I remember people like saying, like, Andy, can you build this for me? What's the number? I'll pay it, like 25,000 and 15,000. And you would be like, oh man, like, do I want to take it? Yes, but it's not the direction I'm going. So you committed, then you set the steps for the team. Like, this is what the new product price is going to be. This is the onboarding and everything of that sort. But now we can actually look back. When you were in it, in the moment when you decided to switch in 2022, what is one thing you wish someone would have told you about running a software as a service business? Like, what's one thing you wish someone would have told you so that you could have at least prepared or spent less time trying to figure it out on your own, the ins and outs of that one issue?
Well, I think the understanding that we would have, like, so many different types of customers, like so many at so many different levels. I mean, even, like, for example, like in some of our onboarding, right? Our onboarding, the subsequent pages, like when someone goes to progretta.com/trial and they go try the software, right? And then they go ahead and sign up, and then they enter their credit card to start off the software. And on subsequent pages, there are web pages with agreements to sign to activate your account, right? And what I started to notice is that some people would have like questions, and I would say like this is a basic thing. Like for example, like this might be like the question is like, can I use my own domain on my website, right? Like that, like a question like that. And so when I think about our onboarding process, there are people who are very technically savvy that will go ahead and ask very technical questions, and then there are people who are non-technical savvy who will
Right.
ask non-technical questions, and we have to build a system for both. The person who says this is so basic, oh my goodness, I can't believe like you're you know s- talking about the most basic things, and
Right.
then I don't want the person who is like this is so advanced that I feel overwhelmed that this is too much. So we're always having to like find the middle ground, and in that middle
Mm-hmm.
ground you're still going to lose customers, people who are just like, I need something like really techy, and then there are going to be people who are like, I need something really basic to the point like it's like for example, like the iPhone is too technically advanced. I need something that's just two buttons, call and hang up, that is it, like,
Right. No
but for
internet.
technology, no internet, right? So like that person may not be well suited for our technology, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
our software is technical. It is for marketing people who want to market their business and they want to get new customers. So you're gonna have websites, you're gonna have emails, you're gonna have text messages, all in
Mm-hmm.
all to get people to buy your product or service.
Yes, I actually remember that journey when I first developed the customer success manager role and they were doing onboarding. I remember when I built the script, but of course, in my millennial brain, it was about like connecting their Instagram and Facebook page, for example.
Yeah,
And so I was like, yeah, okay, so you're going to click this button. Like the script was written out sentence by sentence. Well, 3 to 5 calls in testing the script, we ended up realizing that people didn't even know the last time they logged into Instagram or Facebook. So the CSM is like coming to me and saying like, well, the script says that they got to connect their Instagram and Facebook, but they don't remember what email they used on their
yeah,
Instagram
I remember that.
account.
Yeah,
And so we had to do this massive like troubleshooting, frequently asked questions, but it was an opportunity to serve our customers at the level that they were at. But then we had other customers that are like, oh, I already connected it. Like before they got into call one, they're like, I
yeah,
did this, I watched the tutorials. What's next? So then now we started creating levels. Like, okay, this customer's at this level, this one's at this level. You really just want to learn which level they're in. That does determine their success as well.
yeah. Because as you're explaining that, yes, there are customers who would say like, okay, I'm on Zoom with you. I have never logged into the platform, and how do I log in? And then you would say just put in your email and password, and if you don't know your password, click on forgot password. And then I remember scenarios where they're like, okay, I need help to log into my email now.
Yes,
You
like
know,
where's my email at? And I was
where's my
like,
email? So
oh,
now we're gonna go help them get the email, and then they forgot the password there, and now we're troubleshooting them to do another system to remember the password for their email, and it's like,
yes.
oh, they texted you a code. Okay, I don't have my phone on me. Let me go get my phone, and then it's like, okay, I got my phone. The code expired. So now
Yes,
so like
that
so
did
like
happen.
you're on
Yeah.
a call just trying to get this person to log in. I remember watching a customer success manager onboarding, and it took like 19 minutes to get the call, like an hour call, and it took 19 minutes just to
Yes,
get the
the
person to log
login.
in, just to log
Yes.
in. And I remember
Yeah.
saying to myself, like, "Whoa, okay, there's that." And then there is, like you said, like there are people who come on the call and it's like, "Hey, I mean, I figured it out myself. Like, I went to settings, I figured out, I saw Instagram and Facebook, so I just logged in. I just pressed the button to log in." And then now I got that synced and I realized what it was doing. So I realized how it works. So I built an automation and a workflow. And I remember Andy saying I could capture leads, or I remember learning I could capture leads. So I built a
Mhm.
capture lead in the interim of like the one day between the purchase and the call, their onboarding call. In the interim, we did all that work. We built it all out,
Right.
right? And then so I'm already doing a lead generation campaign on Facebook. So I appreciate like what else can we do? And it's like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
let's get your phone number created. Let's sign up for your phone number. And it's like I actually
Did
already
that
did
too.
that. I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Okay.
had those calls too, like,
Yeah.
okay.
Let's set up your domain. Let's go to settings. Are you talking about this domain right here? Yeah, it's already logged in.
Yeah.
Like I spent all night last night on working on this. I'm like, oh, okay. So you have
Yeah.
like that level of experience, and then you have the level of experience like I don't even know how to log into my to the app, and maybe they're a great business owner. Like we've had so many scenarios like that where they run an
Mhm.
older business and they're very successful, but like in the digital world, this is something brand new to them, and they're making an investment because they understand that the world is going digital and they want to be ahead of the curve and they want to add that technology to their business. So we've seen it all.
Well, being that that's the one thing that you wish somebody would have told you, ahead of time, back in 2022, like if somebody said, "Hey, Andy, you are going to build for both levels and then find a medium," what would that have helped you in? Like, what would you have done differently? I mean, of course, now on this side, it took 2 years to find that middle, but what do you think it would have supported as, let's say, someone is doing their SaaS right now, and we're telling them, watch out for this. What does that help as the business owner founder?
I would have had what I would have done differently because I remember back then, like our onboarding was we didn't have onboarding like in the beginning because we learned the software ourselves. So we were like,
Mhm.
okay, we're just gonna expect that other people are gonna learn. So in the beginning like day -1, like the before day zero, just getting started, I was like, oh yeah, people are gonna onboard themselves and just use it themselves,
Yeah.
and then realizing like, okay, we need to guide them. And then I spent a
Mhm.
bunch of time like investing in videos where we had these onboarding videos. Now, do I think that onboarding videos helped or added value? I think it did, but at the beginning, my investment shouldn't have gone trying to automate the onboarding. If you remember that, like I was like trying to automate it with videos and having people just like use
Self-guided.
videos. It's a
Yeah.
self-guided video, and I said, you know what, I gotta invest upfront on the customers. Like so, for example, like today, if a customer spends if a customer spends, let's say their first month on our software and they spend 399
Mhm.
bucks, I may spend 450, 550, maybe $750 in just like the payroll expenses, just to add value to those businesses, right? That are utilizing our
Mhm.
technology. So you're saying, hey, someone spent 399 bucks, but you spent 750 or even $1,000 at the highest, $1,000 in support and payroll for your staff to guide them, to work with them one on one, and so on and so forth. Is that a good business model? And most people would say no. Like, customer pays you three 99, and then you pay
Mhm.
1,000. You're negative. That's not a good deal. But
Right.
what we found was that it's about what happens on month 3, and month 4, and month 6, and month 8, and month
Mhm.
13, and month 24, and month 28, and that's what we're building into. And I would have just gone straight into one-on-one onboarding at that time. I would have skipped trying to do the
Videos.
videos. And then also I would have invested more heavily in customer success. Uh,
Right.
Today we put a tremendous focus on customer success. In the beginning, it was more of like, hey, it's a software, you use it on your own. But what I found is like my software use experience of any other software, of like if I just go online and
Mhm.
buy a marketing software, my experience is not equal to another person's experience. So in when I buy that software, like say for example, I buy a CRM. When I buy that software, what happens is like I'm good on the onboarding. I don't need your help. I'll figure it out myself, which I end up doing, and that's just how I've been with softwares. But there are customers who actually need that guidance to create success.
Right, right. That is very true. That how we, well, every person is different. Like how we learned the software and the build outs might not be someone else's journey. So I could see how that is valuable. Someone's like on day one to day five. And if they think of the long term investment of helping their customer, it will pay off, of course. Like you said, month three through month 48, that they're on the software. Well, now that it has been 2 years and we've gone through the ups and downs of building the CSMs, building the tech team developers, have maximized customer journey, when did you feel or realize that you were successful, that this business was on the side of it's established, it's generating money, and you actually kind of realize within yourself, like, oh, it worked, ideas and the implementation and launch? When did you realize it was successful?
What's coming up for me is us being like in Hawaii and us just being together. I remember like you did you ended up selling our SaaS on a webinar with an all women's event webinar, and stumbled across that post or the video of you speaking, and you mentioned like how, man, I want to be one day. I want to be out on the beach in Hawaii sipping pina coladas, you know.
Right.
And that's what you said in that video. And then I'm like, oh, we've done that actually. That's real. But I would say that I'm sure there was a time before that, because when it comes down to making revenue, right? I've
Mm-hmm.
known so many people to be on the hunt. So from when I was younger, I was always seeing these guys just on the hunt. And what are they on the hunt for? They're always on the hunt for the next customer. And you've known me to be I've been that person as well. Like I'm on the hunt for the next customer. I'm like, who can I
Right.
call? Who can I set up a demo with? Who can I, do a sales meeting with, so on and so forth. And I was always on this hunt, 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 hunt. And it was impacting my relationship with my family. Because I'm just trying to, make sure that I'm got customers coming in. Now, I still get acquire customers, but it's more strategic today. It's more of like, let's meet, let's talk. So I would always ask, like, there'll be people, for example, who are making, let's say, like, for example, like $5,000 a month, and you want to go spend time with them. Maybe like they're making $10,000 a month. I'm talking about in their revenue and their business. So this is a starting, right? Five, ten
Mm-hmm.
thousand dollars a month, and they're starting out. You know what's crazy? I've always seen like those individuals, like just at six figures, for example, they're always busy.
They're not available for lunch,
They're
sir.
not available for lunch. They can't spend any time with you. Why? Because I'm busy, busy, busy. And me and you talked about like busy versus productive, right? But like, and then I
Yeah, we
remember
did.
this like being younger, and I'm talking to people who are making like millions of dollars, and I'm like, man, you text them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, hey, let's hang out, and then they're like, oh, sure, I'm available.
Yeah, let's meet you
You know,
there.
I'll just meet you there. Where you want to go? And then I'll arrive there, and then it'll be the allotted hour will be spent together. And then after that, they're like, you want to go do something else? You want to go shoot guns? You want to go play
Yeah,
basketball? You
you
want to
want
go
to
work
go
out?
hang out.
And I'm like, why do you have so much time freedom?
Hmm.
And you have all these employees, you have all of this staff, you have all of this thing that you're responsible for, and you have time freedom. The person who's making ten
Yeah.
thousand dollars a month, $15,000 a month, you're super busy. Why is that? Well, usually the one that's making the millions and so forth, usually their business model, they may not communicate it, but their business model happens to be monthly recurring revenue. They're making
Hmm.
passive income or recurring revenue,
Right.
and they have monthly cash flow. But it's the ones that are like, okay, I'm busy, and the reason you're busy is because you're on the hunt for the next customer.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be software. I love software because it's a digital product. It doesn't cost much to like you what
There's
people
no
are buying.
inventory.
There's no inventory. What people are buying is your infrastructure to market to that person, onboard that person, retain that person. That's what people are buying when they pay every single month. So when someone pays for Salesforce every month, is they're not buying because there's not much that it costs for the technology. That specific instance, like the account itself, there's not much that it costs. It's kind of like a Google Doc. It doesn't cost Google much of anything to create a new Google Doc. Now, they might have invested up front, so on and so forth, to build a technology and code. But I'm talking about afterwards, it doesn't cost much. But you'll spend hundreds of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to utilize that tool. Now, so that's what you're really buying. And the freedom of having a business that creates enough cash flow every single month and enough revenue every single month, and the cost is near zero, it's an amazing business. So if you have recurring revenue, that's what's going to create freedom for you, where you're like, hey, I know I got $1,000 coming in, today. Every day is $1,000 plus, or every day is $2,000 plus, or every day is $3,000 plus. Then you're excited because you're like, okay, I'm gonna go play some basketball. I ain't tripping because I'm making $3,000 today,
Right.
or because it's all reoccurring.
And for you, which that is a good point. I mean, I can relate, that journey of business of, if I take 2 days off, well, we're going to take a hit on the revenue, or the project is going to get delayed. So I do appreciate that part about the software as a service model, where whether we work 9 to 5, or whether we take 2 days off, or whether we're traveling, the software subscriptions are still coming in. So that
Yeah.
is the game changer, the time freedom with that. Which leads me to the next question. what was it like to receive the award that you had 100 plus, customers on the software? So if somebody would have told you in 2022, hey, Andy, you are going to hit 100 within like a year or less than a year, would you have believed them? And then number one, and then number two, what did it feel like once you saw that you had 3 digits of customers on the software?
I mean, like when I looked inside of my subscription management platform and I saw 3 digits for the first time, I was like, whoa. It only inspired me to have 4 digits, right? Which is 4 digits would be 1,000 plus,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately my big target is 4,000 subscribers. And but when I walked that stage and I got the award, and the award was like you have over 100 subscribers, and it felt cool to see that. And I was on stage and I spoke on stage at that day, and it just felt cool to experience that. But what it went to show was the progression, because maybe like a year before I was completely against it. If you remember, like I was completely against the
Yes.
idea of just MRR, and just the idea of just selling software. It was kind of like I can sell a $50,000 program, or $50,000 service,
Mm-hmm.
or I can do an online course for $20,000 or $25,000. And I remember doing like $25,000. I can do an online course for, right? Someone will pay us $25,000, and it would be very profitable for us to do an online course, but it just takes a lot of time. So what people were really paying for was like the time and the knowledge and so on and so forth. So I could do that
Mm-hmm.
for $25,000. Why would I go ahead and sell a $300 a month software? That doesn't make sense. And like if you just do the math, it just doesn't make sense. And then, like when I walked that stage, uh, today, like I remember the last project that we did, we ended up charging $25,000, and it happened to be for a course in that scenario. And then
Mm-hmm.
uh, this was around the time of like, should we take custom services or should we just sell the software only?
Right.
And we
We
were going
were
back
at
and
that
forth, like,
fork.
yeah,
Like,
it had the
do
fork in
we
the road.
commit? Like, do we commit or do we do both still blended?
Exactly. So then I said, you know what? We're gonna commit. And I remember I refunded their money back, right? I refunded their money back, and it was like, it wasn't even a sting. It was crazy. It
Mm-hmm.
was crazy. It wasn't even a sting, to refund $20,000. It wasn't like, oh, because we have so much cash flow coming in that it just made sense. Like, let's spend time on what is going to help us grow long term in the future and create valuation for our business. Because it's interesting. If let's say, for example, if let's say $25,000, let's just do the math. 25,000 bucks is what it costs for me to do a one time service. Let's say that I
Mm-hmm.
sell let's say I sell 10 of those in a year. Okay. That's a total of 200. I'm gonna round up. Let's say I sell 12 of those in a year.
Mm-hmm.
So $25,000, multiply that by 12, that's 300 grand. So let's say I do one big online course project once a month for 12 months. So I would make 300 grand that year in that scenario, right?
Yeah.
Or we would make $300,000 that year. Now, I it's crazy how it sounds. I would rather, let me just do some math. I would rather make $15,000 a month from a $297 price point. So in this scenario, 50
Subscription.
customers,
Yeah.
50 subscriptions that were paying $297 a month. Multiply that by 12, that's 178,000 bucks. I would rather have just the $178,000 that was recurring. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because on month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6, month 8, 9, 10, 12, I did nothing besides provide a technology.
Mm-hmm.
You don't call, like, if you're like, for example, you don't your cell phone, you don't call Verizon every month and say that there's an issue, right? You don't call, like, after the first 2 months, you're like, Verizon, I got a question, I'm not clear, or AT&T or T-Mobile, whatever you have. I'm not clear, I need some help. The first 2 months, like, maybe. But like month 6, you don't ask questions. But do you cancel your phone? No.
No, you just keep paying it on automatic payment.
You just keep paying it. Like Cox, like
Yeah.
the internet bill. Do you just cancel your phone? I don't even know what internet bill we have, what internet company we have. Well, like, do you just cancel? Do we have Cox or AT&T?
We have Cox in Vegas. They don't.
Okay, okay.
I don't think AT&T is out here.
I
I
was
don't
thinking,
know.
I used to have AT&T in LA, so that's probably what it is. But you don't pay, you don't think of your internet bill and it's like, you know what, I'm thinking about canceling. That's not
Yeah.
a question, right? You just pay the bill, right? And then in the beginning, you might call Cox or AT&T or whoever you have for internet service
Right.
provider. You
Some
might call
basic
them
questions. Yeah.
in the beginning, but then afterwards it's like, okay, it's an autopilot. That's what you want to do long
Mm-hmm.
term. So for example, I would have 12 big mind-boggling projects that would take a lot of time, energy, and resources for 12 new customers in that scenario over the course of a year, 25 grand. And then, or I could have, let's say 50 customers at paying $300 a month and making $15,000 a month. So it's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
less. It's $10,000 less a month in revenue, and so I only make $178,000 a year. However, from a stressful standpoint, from a project standpoint, it just makes more sense. Where now I could just focus on acquiring more customers into a system that I already have. So that's the big difference, because each one was all custom. The other one is a custom, and you got to do a custom project each and every single time. The other one is like, hey, just put people through the system.
Yes, and I mean, like you said, even if you do one big project a month times the 12 months, you're making more than 300,000, but also the operating cost on that because it's a custom project, you probably need higher level of skills for those types of projects. Not that SaaS, of course, you also need developers, but the same people can work on the software projects. Not always the same people need to work on those custom projects because I remember having to bring like double the amount of people for those custom projects. And then as soon as and I would literally hire them like project based, like once this project is done, we may or may not have work for you.
Yeah,
So I
right,
have to
right,
train
right.
people, let them go, and then train people, let them go. Like it was so much work on our ops. Versus option two, which is the model that we run now. Yes, it's less, like you said, maybe on the total number, but we also keep more because our team is it's already established. We have a core team, core operating costs, and it does not cost. You don't need more people and more cost when you have more customers. So let's say we ended up going to 500 or 600 or whatever the number is, 1,000 or 4,000. Is your team going to grow or is it going to stay about the same?
Yeah, no, that I mean maybe one or two more people, but like
Maybe.
it
Yeah.
wouldn't grow that much. Like I'll share with you, for example, like I was at a mastermind, okay, and at this mastermind, uh, this was a software mastermind, and there was a gentleman who was interested in running the software, doing the software route, and but he was a high ticket marketing agency, so he was doing Facebook ads, building out websites, custom funnels, things of that nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, he was doing $3.5 million a year in revenue. And then from a subscription standpoint, we were doing just under 700,000 at the time, and a year. And I remember he came to me and he was like, "Well, I do 3.5 million bucks right now, man. I'm on the hunt all the time for new customers because customers will leave and I gotta go. Like I'm running the agency world, the marketing agency journey." And then I said to him, I said, "So your revenue is much higher than mine, many times higher than mine. What is the net profit? Like, what was the EBITDA? What was the earnings before interest, taxes,
Mm-hmm.
depreciation, and appreciation? What was the EBITDA? Like the actual profit?" And then he gave me the number, and I was like, "Whoa!" I said, "Bro, my business made more than yours. Uh,
Mm. When
We
you look
run,
at that side of it, yeah.
yeah, because you sell. Let's say you sell an additional customer, you have to go ahead and hire people on your
Mm-hmm.
staff, right? And then like when you do that, you're gonna pay their payroll. On top of that, you're gonna pay, like for example, they're gonna get an email account. They're gonna get a user seats that
Mm-hmm.
you're paying monthly for, right? And then it takes time for you to train that person. So there's a window. It could be 90, it could be 120 days window that you're paying with no value return because you're training that person. So like you have all these expenses when you could have just like operated in the right business model. So like, for example, if I am running a marketing agency and I sell 12 courses, I may need, let's say, 25 people to work, from graphic designers, video editors, to funnel designers, automation specialists, so on
Right.
and so forth. I mean,
Copywriter, a bunch of things.
copywriter,
Yeah.
project manager on top of that. Like you
Yeah.
have all of these roles. But then when you're running the SaaS model, let's say the same amount of people for 50 customers, like managing 50 subscribers, It's the same amount of people that you would need to get 100 to manage 100 subscribers, and it's the same amount of people that you would need to get manage 200 subscribers. So that's why I share
Mm-hmm.
like my cost doesn't necessarily go up much if I have this model.
Right, right. And that is true. And I appreciate you breaking that down because like you said, sometimes looking at it from face value, it's like model A sounds better than model B, but then you look at those details. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share a condensed version of the last 2 years. We hope that this helps anybody that's on the first 100, SaaS customers, and we look forward to the next time. Do watch this video and let us know in the comments some questions, and we'll be sure to answer them as you go on your journey. Thank you.
Let us know any questions that you have so that way I can answer it on the next podcast episode.